Hey guys, welcome to Irish Medieval History, and today I want to play some deeds of arms and chivalry, and I'm going to be playing as James Usurper FitzGerald for this little playthrough. So let us begin. There we go. Beautiful cover even to start with. I've been playing for a while. And I already have the character set up, so we don't have to worry about going through all the stats and stuff. Beautiful, like this whole game is absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed the battles and everything that's taken place, and because for quite some time now I've been working on my own little video, the Gaelic resurgence of Ireland between 1370 all the way up to 1420. I've been definitely in the mood to play this game, and obviously next week I've got the old Q&A with Rachel, the creative Contessa, so definitely stay tuned for that one. Who is James the Usurper FitzGerald? Well, to begin with, he is an actual character in real life. I based him off the actual Usurper FitzGerald, but he never actually served in England. As I was saying earlier, he was in the middle of fighting against the English, and himself and the Butlers were in a point where they were kind of going semi-independent from the English. For the most part, they were pretty independent and they were ignoring the Statutes of Kilkenny, but every once in a while the Butlers, for example, would go over to Dublin, sign up and join in against the war against the French, because at the time Henry V and Henry VI were pretty much stuck for more and more troops to fill the gap. But at the same time, people like Talbot were looking to fight the likes of the FitzGeralds and the Butlers in Ireland. They were in the middle of the Talbot-Ormond feud, which would go on for a good 20 years. And I'll go into more detail about that later on. James was born in 1381 in the middle of the Gaelic resurgence, where Art-Mac-Mor Cavanagh was fighting against the Statutes of Kilkenny and the continued increase of tax on his lands in Leinster, which eventually would see the rise of Richard II coming into Ireland and fighting Art-Mac-Mor. First time beating him, second time he'd end up even losing his own crown. I made a video about that called the Gaelic Resurgence, which you should definitely check out. James was born amongst all of that chaos. At a very young age, at age 7, in 1388, he would be fostered off to the O'Brien clan, and there he'd become very Gaelicized. His own father, Gearóid FitzGerald, the poet, he himself was also very Gaelicized. He was also married into the Butlers, so you can see how they're continuously going between the Gaelic world and the Anglo world. So that's why we also prefer using the term Anglo-Irish, because they're always going between the two worlds. So James the Usurper FitzGerald was fostered into the O'Brien clan. From there he would have built a very strong connection that would have lasted his entire life. James the Usurper, as he goes through his life, would build connections like this, fostering his own children, adopting children into his family, and he would also build really strong marriage alliances, which I'll go on and talk about much more later on. So there we are. We have just arrived in France, and we're going to be playing with the English on the side of the English, because in this scenario James FitzGerald has made peace with the English, because the English at this point, the English are desperate for more mercenary companies to be brought over to France to fight in the 100 Years' War. Right now this is where the main fighting is between the English and the French. As you can see, that's Orleans, where the siege is going on, where Joan of Arc is about to appear, because Joan of Arc is in this mod from my understanding, and she's either just relieved Orleans because it's 1429, or she's about to relieve Orleans and then push all the way up to Paris, where she is then captured by the Burgundians. And well, that's the end of that little chapter. But before all that happens, I will be here because we're playing kind of an alternate history, because at the time I'm going to be explaining the history of James FitzGerald. At the time, James FitzGerald himself was actually fighting the English. He had not made peace with the English and was actually in the middle of the Talbot-Butler feud. That was continuous fighting that was happening in Ireland against the English crown. Right, so I just want to point out a little fact here, a very interesting fact while we're on the map. I made a short on this a while back ago, and it was the link between the Desmond FitzGeralds. Enemy over there. Oh, rebel peasants. We might murder them first. Let me explain this and then I'll go over and do some murdering. Anyway, so what is the link between the Desmond FitzGeralds that we find over in Kerry and Brittany? Brittany at this stage is also fighting England. Everyone's fighting England at this stage. Brittany and Ireland have a link through the FitzGeralds, and that's because the FitzGeralds, although they themselves claim to be actually from Florence, which is about here, and that they have a trade link now going up around from Florence over to Tralee. You can also take the tour of this, by the way. There is if you go to Tralee, there is the Tralee Museum, which does a full-on medieval tour, by the way, and it does the medieval tour from what Tralee would have looked like in 1450, so around this whole period during the late 100 Years' War up to the Wars of the Roses. So definitely go and see that. Anyway, back to the little explanation I was going to do for the coat of arms for the FitzGeralds. Basically, one other Norman, allegedly not a Norman, who joined the Battle of Hastings and then went from England over to Ireland and married into the FitzGerald clan, is the Burnwell family. They originated in Brittany, allegedly, and then joined the Normans, which is actually true. There is actually a lot of people from Brittany who joined William the Conqueror when he went over to England. So that is possible. It is very possible that he originated from Brittany, but because of that would start up a marriage alliance between the two, because Brittany and Ireland are quite close together. They're all part of that whole Celtic link. So next time someone asks you what's the connection between, well, the medieval marriage alliance between Ireland and Brittany, it is that marriage alliance between the FitzGeralds and the Burnwell family, who originate from Brittany. Anyway, let's go and pop that zit before I do anything else. Oh, they're running away. There they go. Zipping and zapping. Hopefully I catch up with them. What speed are they on? 6.1. We're on 6 foot. Maybe they go away. What's this? Brittany infantry. We are free brothers. We will fight you for ourselves. When I'm done with you, you will regret leaving. There we go. Okay, so we're going to fight some Brittany's troops now. And there I am, all done up in my Cherbourg armour. The following weekend, guys, we will be talking about the Cherbourg armour. So we'll be covering this armour next weekend. On my back as well, if you look at my back, I have a Gallo glass axe, which James FitzGerald, the Usurper, would have easily known all about. Let me actually move up here to a more tactical situation. So I'm moving my troops up here now. It'd be class now if we could get more. James the Usurper FitzGerald had a lot of Gallo glass and kerns in his military. He was the first Anglo-Irish to mix the laws of both, publicly mix the laws of both Gaelic and the English common laws together, and he brought in coin and levy laws. So legally, according to Anglo-Irish laws, he could have start setting up Gaelic companies in Ireland, which would be a mixture of both Anglo military and Gaelic military, and would have been using the tactics of the 100 Years' War with a bit of an Irish flavour. But sadly in this right now they do not have any Gaelic mercenaries, so I'm kind of stuck with just the English right now. Let's see if we can pop some of these. Boop. Right, let's make our way over to Paris. Yup, go on. I'll ask why he just collapsed. Heart attack. See, this is what a good cattle raider should be able to do. Absolutely no problems. You can see the English longbowman popping through the screen. Do you know what I forgot as a good Irishman? My javelin. I forgot to go and get some javelins. Well. Right, so I have to go basically escort the Countess all the way over here, I'm assuming. Let's go do that. Dun dun dun. Bum ba bum bum. Oh, there she is. Hello. Can we talk? Oh, it's all the way back up here. Oh, not too bad. Okay, we'll go over there. So anyway, while they're marching over there, I have to go and explain the story with. Oh, what's this? Oh, got that one done anyway. Can't remember what I was up to originally, but that's done anyway. This is the main thing. Right. Now I definitely have to explain all this. So anyway, in 1411, Thomas FitzGerald is the Earl of Desmond, right? And James FitzGerald has just become of age, and he wants to usurp Thomas FitzGerald. And Thomas FitzGerald has married an Irish woman that's under his rank, which not only breaks the Statutes of Kilkenny, but it also breaks common law in that area because he married a woman not of the rank. So what James FitzGerald does is that he goes over and he usurps him and he murders the people around him. Thomas FitzGerald freaks out and he bails over to our buddy here, and John Talbot is ahead of the English army. So he goes over and tries to raise an army. However, this is the interesting part, the Butlers had just returned from campaigning in the 100 Years' War, and you would naturally assume that the Butlers would join the side of John Talbot. But this is the interesting part. In fact, the Butlers, the Anglo-Irish, join the side of the FitzGeralds, James FitzGerald, and they start fighting John Talbot and Thomas FitzGerald. Thomas FitzGerald bails over to England and he raises a military force of 60 men-at-arms and 300 longbowmen and returns back to Ireland. He marches over to Kerry, where he's ambushed and beaten by James FitzGerald, and he's captured, which pretty much really sucks for himself. Now, this is the boy in charge of Ireland at the time, and he's also doing this campaign in Ireland. So he's pretty much a busy bee for Henry VI. So let's introduce ourselves and see if he recognizes us. Probably not. There was something. I bring a message from. Oh, I'm also supposed to send the message as well. Give me all your lands. Well, it was good of you to bring this to me, James the Usurper. Take my seal as proof that you received it and give my regards to Sir Walter.
The Lannisters send their regards.
So anyway, yeah, John Talbot, he's not happy that Thomas FitzGerald had been captured by his uncle James FitzGerald, and he tries to go down and fight the Butlers and the FitzGeralds, but he gets beaten up by them, and eventually, yeah, he has to pay the ransom in 1317. Oh, cool. But we're still heading down to Paris. Why are we going to Paris, you say? Well, Paris becomes really important in this story, but before that, a quick reminder to go and watch the video before then. So anyway, we finally made it over to Paris. In 1416, Art MacMorrough Kavanagh is poisoned to death in New Ross. So Butler ends up taking full control of Leinster at this point, and Talbot, he wants to get revenge. So this starts the Talbot versus Butler feud, when Talbot starts going into Butler's territory to get vengeance on Butler by killing his bards. And it's all justified because, you know, the Statutes of Kilkenny. Butler's not supposed to have any Gaelic bards because it's breaking the Statutes of Kilkenny, where the native Irish, the Gaelic, and the Anglo-Irish aren't supposed to be talking to each other, and the Anglo-Irish are supposed to be English, but those rules don't really work. Let's go into a tavern anyway for a few drinks. Oh, German Knights? Oh, they are very, very sexy. Let's not lie here, they are gorgeous. It's funny because this mod has German Knights and they still don't have Irish Knights. We need Irish Knights. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, back to my old story. In 1417, eventually they have to pay the ransom, but the feud continues for another 20 years between Talbot and the Butlers. So pretty much at this point, the FitzGeralds and the Butlers in the south of Ireland have gone independent, and up in the north, the likes of the O'Neills, the O'Donnells are dominant in the north of Ireland, and then in the west you have the likes of the Burkes, the O'Connors. These families pretty much dominate Ireland right now, and there's not much that the English can do. These guys are pretty sexy, so I'll be hiring some Germans into my military force. And ransom broker. I want to try to, hopefully another campaign will kick off soon. Probably look to be going to bed soon enough. Not before I tell you a few more of the story anyway. So pretty much when the fighting is done and dusted, Seamus, the White Earl, goes up to Dublin and he pretty much takes over the Irish Parliament, especially when John Talbot has to go over to France and fight those campaigns over there. So while Seamus Butler is taking control of the Irish Parliament, James FitzGerald is over in Kerry and he's trying to build up a base there. So he's building a whole load of monasteries, especially Franciscan monasteries and abbeys. He's also building a good few castles in that whole region. So are his allies, the O'Briens. He also wants to build a proper strong military force. So McSweeney's are in charge of one of the biggest military companies in Ireland, the Gallo Glass. So with that marriage alliance between McSweeney's and the Burkes, and then himself marrying into the Burke family, they pretty much dominate the west and south part of Ireland. The only thing he needs to do now is build a marriage alliance between himself, James FitzGerald, and with the Butlers. So they agree FitzGerald's son, Thomas FitzGerald, would end up marrying the daughter of one of the Butlers. That's really important to remember because there's going to be a slight twist at the end of this story, so watch out. So with this kind of marriage proposal in place, James FitzGerald and the Butlers pretty much dominate Ireland. The next thing he needs to do is build this massive trade agreement, and we've been talking about this now in a few videos with Ireland and Florence. The family for quite some time have been reimagining themselves as Italian, the Geraldinis, and as I said in previous videos, the FitzGeralds and the Geraldinis have been passing letters amongst each other, and eventually this man appears on the island, John of Geraldini. And John of Geraldini is looking for permission off the Butlers, the people who are in charge of the Parliament. He looks for a merchant license to be able to trade goods from Florence to Kerry, which he gets. Because who's in charge of the Parliament? Well, the Butlers, of course. So with that, they have a trade agreement that goes from Ireland to Spain, from Spain all the way over to Italy. This is a really good, strong trade agreement that brings in goods from all over. Anyway, might as well get the head down for the night and get some sleep. But yeah, there's a good reason why I took you all the way out here to Paris, and the reason for that is that this is where Thomas FitzGerald went when he was in exile. So when Talbot had paid his ransom, he was exiled over to Paris by the FitzGeralds, so he wasn't coming home anytime soon. So he went off to Paris, which had been recently captured by Henry V, and here allegedly Thomas FitzGerald died of heartbreak, no longer able to see the one he truly loved. Or maybe he died from his injuries from being tortured. He was tortured a lot by the Butlers and the FitzGeralds, so maybe that as well. So we've been invited to an old Céilí, but first there's a tournament on, so we'll be going down to the tournament for a few games, you know. There we go. I'm running out of money for betting. Right. I always like betting on myself. I don't know if this actually happened in the medieval period. Do I have any money left to bet in? The wife is not going to be happy, I tell you that. I'd want to win this now or I'm not going home. Simple as. Too bad compared to the last one. Jeez. Right, so I can go home to the wife anyway. That's the main thing. Because of all the betting that James, the Usurper, has just done, because at home was Mary de Burgh, and if you know the de Burgh family, she would not have been happy if he lost all the money in France doing tournaments and betting. So anyway, all the lads are here anyway for a good old festival. Mary de Burgh is at home, so we'll find out if James will do the dirt tonight or not. I don't know, you know. Who do we have here? The boys, all the English boys in here. No Irish lads in here. Sir Robert, you've been tired a few times, haven't you? How are you keeping, boy? How you doing? Are you enjoying the old Céilí, are you? Céilí, yeah, you know, an Irish party, huh? Yeah? I am Sir Robert. Oh, Jesus. We could talk away to the old Collini, the old Irish one, but the old English girls and French girls as well. But I don't think Mary de Burgh would be too happy about this, so we'll go back to talking to the men. We'll talk to the men here now and have a good old chat. Gee, everyone has a job to do. Oh no, not one of these ones. Got something wild. Like, I just wanted to enjoy a few drinks tonight, like, and the boys have me doing the most wild stuff, like. I'll be honest with you, I just wanted to have a few drinks and tell you about James the Usurper FitzGerald, and the boys have gotten me doing the most wild stuff, breaking into prisons, going off and doing these wild hostage exchanges. Like, boys, I just wanted a few drinks, like, Jesus. Oh, what you do for a bit of money, like, you know what I mean? See you later, ladies. Go home to the wife and bitch. One thing as well I want to add from recent research that's been done, and I was listening to the History Hit podcast, and it was pointing out that the court at the time in the late 100 Years' War, going into the Wars of the Roses and throughout the Wars of the Roses, would have been a court with mixed languages. In particular, not only French and English, but even the English accents would have been mixed up. Obviously the French accent would have been diverse, but the one particular one that would have stood out would have been the Paris accent. But on the English side, two accents that would have stood out more and more and more as we get into the period of the Wars of the Roses was the Lancastrian accent and the Yorkist accent. And so any time the Desmond FitzGeralds would have gone into the court, they would have stood out like a sore thumb. And so the Lancastrian accent...
Hey, we've been here before, and it's just lovely around here.
Are there any
See, so that's the Lancastrian accent, and that would have been the accent that actually go for Richard, because there's actually recently been a recreation of Richard the Third, which we can find here.
Therefore, following in the footsteps of our ancestors, and with the assent and advice of the side prelates due.
And so you can look that up yourself, guys, and I just want to highlight that because when Desmond FitzGerald would have came into the court, he would have sounded like the Healy race to them.
The one thing that I want to take one and tarnish them, when you said you got a little dig, you said, did I understand the answer that you gave to Deputy MacDonald and others? I'll say one thing too clearly in this house. When it comes to understanding the electorate of Ireland, when it comes to understanding the people, what they want, what they require, the people can look at you and listen to you.
So the thing is that when Desmond FitzGerald went into the English court, he would have seen as a backward, savage bog trotter. You know, that's what they heard. It's not what I hear personally myself. I see a sophisticated, intelligent man. But that's not how the English court would have viewed it, especially Lancastrians. And we know that by the way that they write about Desmond FitzGerald, how they have a huge dislike for Desmond FitzGerald. And you can see that with the Statutes of Kilkenny. You know, he's a very backwards, bog-trotting man, you know, from their interpretation. So I just want you to keep that in mind when it comes down to dealing with the court, especially from the perspective of the Desmond FitzGeralds. Now, the Kildare FitzGeralds, they would have had a completely different accent again, and so would have the Butlers. But this is the accent that gets the most trouble, is the Desmond FitzGerald accent. For when Desmond FitzGerald goes into the court, you know, he's very much looked down upon because he's seen as a proper savage. And this is the accent that they would have heard off of him. So I just think that's interesting information to point out. Obviously not quite like that, more of a medieval accent, but I just wanted to point that out to you, that that's what they would have heard. And people at the time would not have had a English Queen's accent. That accent isn't invented until 1815. It's the same thing with the North Atlantic accent. The mid-Atlantic accent that the American government has been always trying to use to stomp down and put down all these wild, savage accents that the local people have. So that's quite interesting information. No, I will not. Right, so the boys have sent me here to go in and get your manor out of jail, so we'll see what we can do. Though I don't want to besiege it by myself, no, you're grand. Instead, let's disguise ourselves, don the poor pilgrim's robes. I'm only a pilgrim, coming here from Ireland. I go to a party, right? A nice little ceilidh, and you would think the boys wouldn't take advantage of me, and straight away the English lads take full advantage of poor James Usurper FitzGerald. You can see why he left him and went independent from him, you know? And will attempt to sneak in, disguised in the garments of a poor pilgrim. You fool the guards, make your way into the town. Here we go. Right, we have to go find your manor. Let's go to the old pub first, because, you know.
Wait a minute. Something's different.
Evening, gents. How about a nice warm lager?
And help yourself to a packet of crisps.
Or a ruddy nice plum pudding.
Holy crap! It's a gay bar!
Ah, here we go. I want to speak to the prisoner. Wait, there's no one here? What? Yeah, he's right, there's no one here. The boys made a fool out of me. The boys made an absolute fool out of me. I can't believe this. Woo! I can see why James ain't too happy. Right, so I believe because of my intelligence, he's actually been taken from here over to the castle over, right? So the only problem is that this military force is in between all this. So when I move my force of 80 men over, he will move his force upwards, right? So we'll end up having a nice little battle here, 80 on 80, right? So it's in that blur between a skirmish and a battle, right? And he's got 6 prisoners, so his military force might be, they've got a few knights in there. I don't think I have any knights. So it's going to be a difficult one to win. So I might end up getting beaten and captured myself. So it's going to get quite exciting now to see if I get captured. Right. It's interesting enough because back home in Ireland, regularly this is normal. You would have had around 20, 40, all the way up to 120. Like big scale battles were very rare. But it's very interesting that Desmond FitzGerald around 1430 actually raised a very large military force to march up and down in Leinster. The reason why he did that is because Leinster was the front line of the fighting between Art MacMore Cavanagh and the forces inside of the Pale when he was fighting against the likes of the Statutes of Kilkenny and the taxes that were brought in with Richard II, and of course Richard II's first and second campaign. So Leinster was seen as the front line. So when Desmond FitzGerald raised a very large force, now we don't know how big his force was at the time of 1430, but in 1495 we do know that the Desmond FitzGeralds had a terrifying force of 5,000 men. That includes guns, hobbler men, hobbler horses. There would be men that were being on hobblers and they were really fast horses and they were throwing javelins. You also had plenty of gallow glasses in there, kerns, pretty advanced military, especially in the fact that they had guns inside there. Now, of course, Desmond FitzGerald in 1430 most likely did not have guns. Regardless, it would have been a very terrifying military force that would have had knights in Cherbourg armour. They would have had kerns inside there, perhaps longbowmen. Terrifying army nonetheless. But of course this is not the force of 5,000 men, and most of my soldiers are very basic, but we'll see. We have a few German knights, so hopefully the German knights can prevail against this force. So we'll make our way over there and see what happens. So of course they're going in to engage us. Halt. The odds are not in your favour today. You may fight us, but there is no shame if you yield now. We'll fight to the bitter end, and hopefully I win. Right, start a battle holding the position. Right. It says it's pretty much fair and even. I want to move up slightly up here. Right, I got a few English longbowmen, so we'll see how we do. This could be a massive bloodbath. Of course, at the time, the Irish had used English tactics that they had brought back from the 100 Years' War, and they adapted it into Irish warfare. That's because when the English had come in to fight them around the Leinster area, the English were pretty much very much taken off guard, especially English knights in their big Cherbourg armour, easily tripping over the boggy terrain. Because the Cherbourg armour has very small slits to look through, it must have been absolutely difficult to be able to fight. I'm going to have a specialist in to talk about the Cherbourg armour in not this weekend, but the weekend after that. So we got a few pock shots in there. Are they moving? No? They've also taken the defensive position. Do you know, I'm going to be very, very cheeky right now, and I'm actually going to move up myself with my Sparta axe, and I'm going to see personally myself with my old cattle raiding skills. You see, no, I actually forgot to bring my javelins, because we know Art MacMore Kavanagh actually did this to try to provoke the English into moving, and they did. You see, he's got them moving already. There we go. Boys already breaking lines. So that actually did work. It's a shame I didn't bring my what's it called with me, the javelins with me, to get the few cretins. That knight keeps moving out of the way as well. Ooh, that's a good fucking shot. It's a very good shot off their Britons. Obviously you can see that influence. They have that Celtic influence in them, like, damn, like Franco-Celtic influence that is the Britons. Yeah, it's very difficult to deal with their it's not so much them holding the line and stuff, it's actually their arrows are difficult to deal with, but I've provoked them somewhat to start moving. So this is pretty much what the Irish are good for, good over to harassing them. They'll just move in there, throw their javelins, and then when they're ready to engage, the Irish will slightly pull back so they can keep hitting them. That's why the Irish prefer guns, javelins, jumping onto their very quick hobbler horses. You know, the Irish aren't good at cavalry charges. They're not the greatest at holding the line, but they are very, very good at constant harassment, as they would call it, guerrilla warfare, where they would constantly ambush, attack, ambush, attack. Now I've pinned them down and I'm just harassing them here. I should have brought javelins with me. Honestly, I really should have brought javelins with me. Knocked him off the horse. Come on. Get away, get away, get away. Quickly, hop up on the horse and get more kills. Hop, hop, hop. Go on, that Sparta actually get some. There he is. There, got him. Nice stab in the back to get him. Chill out now for the rest of the fight. My character is wrecked from that now. I hop on my horse. There, we got him some more. This is the German Knights, isn't it? Yeah, good timing there. That's some good stuff now, boys. So yeah, this is pretty much a lot of the skirmish fighting is what the Irish mercenaries did during the 100 Years' War. Edward III absolutely loved Irish skirmishers. They were so good at doing this job. They were mostly going to harass the villages and everything and try to antagonize the French forces into getting a... Right, so we managed to beat him back, and now we have to go over to the castle and sneak in, right? Attempt to sneak in. Yes, I'm only a poor pilgrim. Please let me in, sir. And I sure did get in anyway. Take a little walk around the yard. As just a poor pilgrim at night. Not make too many noise. It was grand during the day. I could just scream and roar all I wanted. But being a big Cork man like myself, I'd be better off just keeping my mouth shut, you know. God, I cannot see anything in this darkness. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Oh, prison guard. Okay, so this is leading me somewhere. Who is prisoned here? It is John. And this is exactly... I want to speak to the prisoner. You need to get permission from the Lord. Come on now. Come on now. I thought you were a busy man. Alright then. Here. I found a few euros there, boy. Go on, let me in. Right. Now how do I sneak out? Right. I've come to break you out. Thank you for heavens. However, I'm not going anywhere with these chains on my legs. You'll need to get the key from the guardsman. Ah, come on now. Ah, there we go. Give me the keys to his cell now. Can I just bribe him for the money? Well, that didn't bloody work. I didn't even have a weapon on me. Like, what the hell? You were quickly surrounded by the guards and taken away with your weapons. Ah, Jesus Christ. Why couldn't I just bribe him? That's not how I wanted. Now I'm just locked up here for a while. So I guess we're gonna spend some time here. Just rotting in jail. That was terrible. After days of imprisonment, you finally set free when your captors exchange you for another prisoner. Oh, that's nice. John's still in there though. I was sent to go and rescue John. I got traded. Right, so I got exchanged for another prisoner. That did not go the way I wanted to. But that's just the name of the game during the medieval period. All of this was quite common, where people were taken captive during battle, ransomed. It's very rare that you would go into battle and then execute them. That pretty much never happened. Anytime somebody was captured in battle, they were mostly taken as hostages and then exchanged. So what happened there is actually really common during the medieval period. And although my attempt was to go and rescue him, which would have happened during the medieval period, it failed. I got captured, and then it was me that had to be taken as a hostage, which is just insanely embarrassing. Really embarrassing. I didn't see that happening. Right, so the morale of my men is absolutely shocking after that. So do you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to the tavern for a few drinks, because, you know, why not? Where could I go wrong, huh? A few nights, and then do you know what? We're gonna get a few pints now, and we're gonna get fucking wrecked on the wine.
Who the fuck are you?
Who are you?
I'm a freaking boyfriend, asshole.
That's cool, bud. I'm her man friend.
Dude, don't push me. Don't push me.
So we're gonna relax here for a few days now and try to get the old morale back with a few pints, you know, a few good drinks there and a few bottles of wine before they call us up to go and deal with Joan of Arc, who's still down in Orleans, but she looks like she's probably pushing up now up to Paris or whatever. See anyway what happens. They're not gonna fucking call me up for a war or something. Right, so we're gonna go in and help John with this nice battle here. Right, another nice little skirmish here. Plenty of retinue for the boys. Look at them sexy English longbowmen. Oh, if you haven't seen it as well, don't forget to go and watch the Rambling Kern's new video. He's going to do an entire series on the longbow, the Irish longbow. So definitely head over to Rambling Kern's channel and check that out as well, guys. It's going to be pretty good. Massive differences in the Irish longbow than it is to the English longbow. So anyway, getting back to James FitzGerald. For years, the Butlers and the James FitzGerald had built up a pretty good relationship with each other, and time was almost near for Thomas FitzGerald to marry into the Butler family. However, strangely enough, the Butlers were sick of the war with the English and wanted to get back campaigning in France, and you can see why, because there was plenty of money being made here with a lot of skirmish fights and huge sieges to be had. So Butler decided he wanted to make peace with Talbot, and he did so by getting his daughter that he was supposed to marry, Thomas FitzGerald, and he decided to get her to marry into the Talbot family, and they did that to the complete annoyance and rage of the FitzGerald family. So guess what? Although the Talbot feud came to an end, but it didn't really, because Talbot continued attacking the Butlers. On top of that, the FitzGeralds, jeez, these arrows are going wild. The FitzGeralds also declared war on the Butlers as well. This would eventually lead into the Wars of the Roses, when the Butlers went over to England and started to get in with the Lancastrians. The Lancastrians and the Butlers got very close. They also had a lot of relations going on between the two. That's why they're pretty much Anglo-Irish rather than just plain Irish, because they always had those links back to England, because this isn't the modern nationalist age that we have today. Even in an island of Ireland, there's always that blur between countries. There's no defining line. So up in the northwest of the country, it's a blur between the Highlands, Ulster and Connacht, and then on top of that there's also a blur between England, Wales and the east and south of the island of Ireland. That's why it's kind of more of an Anglo-Irish area. There's also a blur up in the north in the Ulster areas, and of course in the west with Connacht. So there is no permanent lines during the medieval period, and that's the same throughout all of Europe, where you have a blurs of culture all around. Anyway, oh, we're about to engage now. Alright, I'm going to dismount here and get my old weapon out so I can get to the front line. Oh, we already beat the mark. Alright, here, I'll jump onto my horse there. Wait, what happened to my my axe is missing. So while we chase after the rest of the boys, oh shite, more boys over the hill. Yeah, this is going to get quite funny. Anyway, so, jeez, it's the tick of the fight, and I tell you that, boys. So anyway, while the English are trying to bring a wraps to the fighting between the Butlers and the FitzGeralds, the Yorkists are sent to Ireland to go and quell it. You know, because the Lancastrians are also trying to get rid of the Yorkists, because there's a lot of politics happening over there, because the War of the Roses are starting to happen, because the Yorkists blamed the Lancastrians for everything that was going wrong in the 100 Years' War. You know, with Joan of Arc, these French suddenly pushing the English back up north. So everything was going wrong for the English. And so with that, Lancastrians needed to get rid of their main rivals, the Yorkists. And so they sent them off to Ireland. And instead of quelling and bringing peace to the island of Ireland and bringing Ireland back in line with the FitzGeralds, guess what? That didn't happen. Instead, the Yorkists went off and made an agreement with the FitzGeralds to give them more power over the Irish Parliament. And so that brings us into the chapter of the Wars of the Roses in Ireland. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It went a bit mental, alright. Anyway, regardless, I have a Q&A in the next few hours that you should definitely check out between myself and the creative Contessa. We're going to have a nice little conversation on fashion in both Ireland and in Florence in the 15th century. At about the late medieval period, you know, at the end of the 100 Years' War. Regardless, I hope you join us for the conversation and have a good chat between us. Anyway lads, see you later. Slán go fóill. Oh, what's this guy have to say? Good to see you, James the Usurper. There is no greater fortune than the chance to show one's valour on the field of arms. Oh, isn't that nice? He looks like I got punched in the head.